box of forgotten dreams. Imagine opening an old cardboard box in your parents' attic. It's labeled, in faded marker, tech stuff. Inside, tangled cords, plastic shells, metallic buttons, and the ghosts of a dozen inventions that once felt like the future. These were the gadgets that changed how we lived, learned, and played, and then quietly vanished. They weren't just tools, they were companions, little miracles we carried everywhere. Today, we're going to revisit that golden age, the decades when technology was full of personality, when a gadget had weight, sound, and soul. From Walkmans to pagers, from LaserDiscs to Palm Pilots, we'll rediscover the devices that shaped a generation and explore why they disappeared. So grab your favorite retro drink, maybe a soda in a glass bottle, and join me as we travel back to a time when every beep, click, and whir was a promise of the future. 1. The Walkman, music in your pocket. It all started with a simple question. What if music could move with you? When Sony released the Walkman in 1979, it changed everything. For the first time, you didn't need to stay near your stereo. You could step outside, press play, and soundtrack your world. The blue and silver TPS L2 model, with its chunky buttons and dual headphone jacks, became a cultural symbol. Teenagers on bikes, joggers in neon shorts, commuters lost in thought. Music became personal, private, portable. There was a certain ritual to it. Sliding in the cassette, hearing that satisfying click, the gentle hiss before the song began. The audio wasn't perfect, but that was part of the charm. For over a decade, the Walkman ruled. It became shorthand for cool. It redefined what portable meant. And though digital music eventually replaced it, the Walkman taught us that sound could travel, that music could be as mobile as we were. That's a legacy that still echoes in every pair of earbuds today. 2. The MiniDisc, the digital cassette. Fast forward to the early 1990s. CDs were huge, MP3s were just a dream, and Sony wasn't done innovating. Enter the MiniDisc, a small, shiny disc sealed in a plastic cartridge. It looked like the future. It promised perfect digital sound, rewritable media, and near-instant access. No more rewinding, no more tangled tape. You could record, edit, delete, and even name your tracks right on the device. For audiophiles and tinkerers, it was magic, but it was also expensive and complicated. CD burners arrived, MP3 players took off, and the MiniDisc never became mainstream, at least not outside Japan. Still, for those who owned one, it was unforgettable. Holding that little square of music felt like holding innovation itself, precise, elegant, a little mysterious. A format caught between analog nostalgia and digital ambition. 3. The Discman, the sound of the 90s. After the Walkman came the Discman. Portable CD players brought crystal-clear digital audio out of the living room and onto the streets. No hiss, no rewinding, just shimmering clarity in every note. But with early models, one bump on the sidewalk and skip, the music stuttered, and you prayed anti-skip protection would save your rhythm. By the late 90s, the Discman became a fashion accessory. Teens clipped it to their belts, stacked CDs in carrying cases, and showed off shiny reflective discs like trophies. If you grew up in that era, you remember the feeling. Sliding open the lid, placing a disc just right, waiting for the motor's soft whir before the first beat dropped. Then came MP3 players, and soon our CD collections gathered dust. But for a while, the Discman made the world sound new. 4. The PDA, your life in your pocket. Before smartphones, before apps, there was the PDA, the personal digital assistant. Palm Pilot, Handspring, Apple Newton. They were like little digital notebooks, calendars, contacts, memos, and a stylus that felt futuristic. Business professionals and tech enthusiasts swore by them. You'd scribble with graffiti handwriting, sync with your computer, and feel like you were living in the future. There was something satisfying about the simplicity. No distractions, no notifications, just you and your organized thoughts. The Apple Newton dreamed of true handwriting recognition but stumbled. The Palm Pilot refined it, making digital note-taking feel smooth and personal. Eventually, smartphones absorbed their functions. But back then, Pulling out your PDA in a meeting felt powerful, like holding a tiny command center in your hand. A quiet revolution in pocket-sized productivity. 5. The pager. When one beep meant everything. Before text messages, there was a tiny device that ruled communication. The pager. Doctors had them. Businessmen had them. Even teens in the 90s had them clipped to their jeans, flashing neon lights and coded numbers. You'd get a beep, look down, and see a phone number. You had to find a payphone, call back, and hope you weren't too late. There was urgency, even romance in that system. A beep could mean anything: love, work, or an emergency. Page me became a catchphrase. Those who remember know the sound. A little chirp that somehow carried so much importance. And though mobile phones made pagers obsolete in hospitals and emergency services, they still endure, because sometimes the simplest tech is the most reliable. That single beep is the sound of a world that moved a little slower and felt a little more human. 6. The LaserDisc. The big disc that couldn't long before Blu-ray and streaming. Movie lovers had a secret treasure. The LaserDisc. Huge, shiny, and futuristic, like holding a mirror of pure cinema. It offered better picture quality than VHS, chapter selection, and even special features. Collectors adored it. Directors released commentary tracks long before DVDs did. But LaserDiscs were expensive. Players were bulky. You had to flip the disc halfway through a movie, an intermission built into your living room. It found loyal fans in Japan and among cinephiles everywhere. But when DVDs arrived, smaller, cheaper, digital, LaserDisc quietly faded out. Still, those who owned one remember the ritual. Sliding a record-sized disc into the tray, hearing the whir of the laser, watching movies with a clarity no VHS could match. A format too big for its time, but too beloved to truly forget. 7. The Talkboy, a movie prop turned legend. Some gadgets didn't just come from labs, they came from Hollywood. The Talkboy began as a prop in Home Alone. 2. Lost in New York. Kevin McAllister's voice recorder was so popular on screen that Tiger Electronics made it real. A gray plastic recorder with a retractable microphone, playback controls, and one irresistible feature: variable speed playback. You could slow your voice down, disguise it, prank your friends, record fake messages. Pure fun in a handheld cassette. It became one of the hottest toys of the early 90s. For kids, it wasn't just a recorder. It was power, imagination, and mischief wrapped into one device. And just like that, a movie prop became a pop culture icon. 8. The Palm Zyre, the last stand of the PDA. By the early 2000s, PDAs tried to reinvent themselves. The Palm Zyre, the Tungsten, the iPac, they added color screens, cameras, MP3 playback, and memory cards. They wanted to be everything: organizer, music player, photo viewer. And for a brief moment, they were. People used styluses to tap through menus, take notes, and listen to early digital music, all before smartphones made it seamless. But the writing was on the wall. Once the iPhone arrived, the idea of carrying separate gadgets for each task became ancient overnight. The Zyre was one of the last of its kind, a final spark before the smartphone storm. 9. Portable DVD players. Movies on the move before Netflix, before iPads. There was the humble portable DVD player, bulky, foldable, and magical. You'd slip in a disc, close the lid, and suddenly you had a private cinema. On a plane, in a car, in your lap. Families relied on them for road trips. Travelers swore by them. They were little windows of escape, powered by whirring motors and spinning discs. But as soon as tablets and streaming took over, they vanished almost instantly. Still, many remember the quiet joy of opening that screen, hearing the disc spin, and seeing your favorite movie appear, frame by frame. A simple pleasure in a pre-Wi-Fi world. 10. The Oddballs, experiments of the future. Not every gadget became a hit, but many were fascinating experiments. There was the Philips Streamium, an early Wi-Fi music system that could stream MP3s before Spotify was even an idea. Microsoft tried Spot watches, wristwatches that received weather, news, and stocks over FM radio. And who could forget the Yakbak, the handheld toy recorder that repeated your voice in hilarious ways? These gadgets were glimpses of the connected future, too early for their time, but undeniably ambitious. Some failed because the infrastructure wasn't ready, others because people weren't. But every experiment pushed the boundaries of imagination. They remind us that progress isn't a straight line. It's a collection of creative detours. Why they vanished? The lessons of lost tech. Why did all these gadgets fade away? Not because they were bad, but because the world changed. Technology converged. The smartphone swallowed everything. Camera, pager, PDA, music player, even flashlight. Formats fought. Standards evolved. Consumers demanded simplicity. One device, not 10. But every gadget we've discussed paved the way for what we use now. The Walkman taught us mobility. The PDA taught us organization. The pager taught us connectivity. The LaserDisc taught us quality. Each one was a stepping stone toward the sleek, invisible technology we take for granted today. They may be gone, but they're not forgotten, because they shaped the very idea of personal tech. And so we return to that box in the attic. You close the lid, but now, every item inside has a story again. Each button, each battery door, each cassette, a chapter in our shared history. The golden age of gadgets wasn't just about what they did, it was about how they made us feel. Curious, creative, connected. Today's world is faster, smarter, more efficient. But sometimes it's nice to remember when technology still had texture, when you could feel the future in your hands. If one of these devices sparked a memory for you, share it in the comments. Tell your story. Which gadget did you love the most? Which one do you wish could return? Thank you for taking this nostalgic journey with me. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories from the golden age of tech. Until next time, keep the memories alive and never stop exploring the gadgets that made us dream.